Discussion keeps the world turning.
This is Round Table.
You're listening to Roundtable. I'm Yang Henglin. Coming up soon, Roundtable presents one fun episode from our new podcast series, Sage and Youth, debating Zhuangzi's Tao. In today's program, we bring you the story of Guanzhong recommends a chancellor, a story about choosing the perfect candidate for a management position. Let's take a listen.
Are you all right, Chancellor?
Duke Huan, ruler of the state of Qi, was deeply worried. His eyes filled with worry when he heard Guanzhong's fits of coughing. Guanzhong struggled to sit up and greet the Duke. He had served as chancellor for years, leading the state to unprecedented power. But now, it seemed that his body was no longer able to shoulder the daunting task.
I hate to say this, but if your condition gets worse, we might need to find someone to fill your shoes.
Yes, my lord. You're right. Who do you have in mind to take on these duties?
What about Bao Shuya?
The Duke's response was swift and resolute. Bao Shuya, Guanzhong's closest friend, used to tutor the Duke when he was a young prince. Back then, the kingdoms were often engaged in battles. In those turbulent times, Bao Shuya and Guanzhong took the task of mentoring the two princes respectively. But then, the two brothers, once bound by blood, fought against each other to claim the throne. As Duke Huan ascended to power, Guanzhong, who had previously assisted the Duke's elder brother, was taken prisoner and faced imminent execution. In this dire moment, Bao Shuya persuaded the Duke to spare Guanzhong's life. When the Duke considered appointing Bao Shuya as chancellor, Bao recommended his friend for this prestigious role, emphasizing Guanzhong's strategic brilliance and diplomatic prowess. The Duke took his advice and entrusted Guanzhong with governing state affairs, and he proved to be a talented strategist and advisor to the Duke. Through Guanzhong's reforms and adept diplomacy, Qi became the most powerful state of that time. So given Bao Shuya's contribution and moral integrity, the Duke immediately thought of him as Guanzhong's successor and believed that it was also Guanzhong's recommendation. Guanzhong spoke with calm resolve.
No, my lord. Bao Shuya is a man of honesty and integrity, but he holds too tightly to his principles. If he ever hears of someone's error, he won't forget it to the end of his days. If you put him in charge of state affairs, he may find himself at odds with both you and those beneath him. If I had to choose, my lord, Xi Peng would be a better fit.
Xi Peng, who had received excellent education since childhood, was renowned for his intelligence, generosity, and eloquence.
He's not one to flaunt his status or discriminate against those inferior to him. He empathizes with those who are not as good as himself. Those who use their virtue to oppress others will never gain people's support, but those who humble themselves will never fail to win their support. In my opinion, he's the one for the job.
Upon hearing the news, instead of feeling betrayed by his good friend, to many people's surprise, Bao Shuya smiled and applauded.
That's my soulmate. He knew me so well. I would not make a good chancellor. Given my personality that cannot tolerate even minor wrongdoing or flaws, not only would I fail to do good, I might also cause major trouble. In this way, Guanzhong is protecting me, and he is protecting the country as well.
What makes a good leader? Guanzhong recognized Bao Shuya's honesty and integrity, but it still raised concerns about his inflexibility and tendency to hold on to others' past mistakes. He considered Xi Peng as a suitable candidate for the chancellor role due to his humility, empathy, and ability to connect with different individuals. This suggests the importance of striking a balance between meticulousness and a broader vision in leadership positions. Additionally, despite his close friendship with Bao Shuya, Guanzhong refrained from recommending his friend for the position of chancellor. His recommendation of Xi Peng proved to be beneficial for the state's diplomatic efforts. Guanzhong demonstrated a commitment to the long-term prosperity of the state of Qi, placing collective welfare above personal affiliations. Bao Shuya too knew he himself is not fit for the job. That's why he twice sided with Guanzhong and twice declined to be chancellor. Both men knew that too clear the water, there's no fish. Too harsh on others, you have no friends, let alone partners.
And that concludes our tale for the day. But our journey doesn't end here. We'll delve deeper, bringing the ancient and the modern as we shift to the vibrant voices of today. Young thinkers will soon take the stage, explore, question, and even contradict each other, discovering how these age-old ideas can still illuminate our contemporary lives. Here comes the debate.
Hey guys, this is Xingyun with Footprints.
This is Yang Yang with Roundtable.
Well, I think this story is very thought-provoking. I don't know about you, Yang Yang, and I think there are a lot to talk about. Initially, I was thinking a lot about why Bao Shuya wasn't the best fit. He is such a man of moral integrity and honesty, but there's a weakness inside him because he sticks to his own principles so much that sometimes he cannot tolerate or work with those who are not like him. And this creates real challenges when it comes to governing a state. For a chancellor, it requires a lot of dealing with people, not just the ruler, but also your fellow officials and the common folks. So this reminds me of a Chinese saying, 严于律己,宽以待人, which means to be strict with yourself, but at the same time being lenient with others. So I think it's good to hold yourself to high standards, but meanwhile, you have to accept the reality that not everyone is like you.
Well, that may be true when we are building connections with other people and making friends. But when it comes to workplace, that's not necessarily true for leaders because I think good leaders are strict leaders.
What?
Yes, may not be intuitive, but I think it's the best way to go.
So, Yang Yang, do you know Mahatma Gandhi? I'm sure you know him. He's a very famous and prominent leader in the Indian independence movement. And he's best known for his exceptionally high ethical and moral standards. But at the same time, he was very tolerant of others who did not fully adhere to his principles. Like his movement included people from various backgrounds, various religions and philosophies, and some of them advocated for radical measures. But in that case, Gandhi, despite he personally disagreed with these leaders, he respected their passion for Indian independence and he chose to work with them. So I think from Gandhi's story, it really showed that leadership is not just about personal integrity. It's also about inclusivity and empathy and uniting people with different strengths and weaknesses towards a common goal.
Well, as much as I do agree with you that tolerance is what makes Gandhi good, but what makes Gandhi great and so memorable is his intolerance of racial discrimination and violence. Sometimes saying no to others is more difficult than saying yes. But I am not here to say we need to be intolerant as much as possible. The thing that matters is when we disagree strongly with other people, we should learn from Gandhi and solve the divide through non-violent ways.
Okay.
And back to our discussion, I think it's important for leaders to be strict. When it comes to jobs with huge responsibilities, such as doctors, if they're performing a surgery for you, you don't want the surgeon to be so tolerant of his or her assistant, right? Instead, the more strict, the better, because your life is in their hands, right?
So that's life and death situations.
Yeah, life and death situation. And even for some jobs which seems to be regarded as less important jobs, take the sanitation workers, for example, in the community. If they don't take out the trash in time or they don't handle the waste thoroughly, there will be lots of bacteria, bad smell, mold, and everything, which could be a potential threat to the health of residents living in the whole community. So I believe when we're doing a job, no matter it's big or small, a high standard is always better than a low standard.
But as we strive for these high standards are constructed by human beings, by these leaders. So they can be very subjective, especially in today's corporate environment. We're so familiar with the word KPI, which stands for Key Performance Indicator. And they are used to measure an employee's performance. Most of the times, these are quantitative measurements, like how many sales that you've accomplished this month. But sometimes what people do is not just quantitative. It's not about moving how many bricks from A to B, like the work we do. I think KPI somehow overlooks the qualitative aspect of our performance, such as creativity or teamwork. And when you say these sanitation workers, they should keep the community clean, but how do you define clean? How much clean is the clean that you as a manager, you want your workers to achieve? If you hold on to high standards and you want these communities to be spotless, I don't think anybody can do this job.
Then we're talking about the degree of high standard. How high is high standard?
Yeah,
Right.
that's why I think because everybody is different and nobody's perfect. While it's important to strive for excellence, it's also important to recognize and respect the diversity of your employees. So that just highlights the importance of a good leader, especially in today's workplace. If we
Right.
go back to the story, Xi Peng, he is the guy who is humble and generous. He is very eloquent.
Yes.
He knows what to say, what not to say, and how to say to different people. So I think he exemplifies the importance of emotional intelligence for those who are in this leadership roles or managerial roles. High emotional intelligence can help you better navigate interpersonal dynamics and foster positive relationships within the working environment.
Well, yes, emotional intelligence is very important, but I don't think it's an only reason for Xi Peng's success. In my
Okay.
opinion, yes, I think Xi Peng has to be qualified professionally for the job in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah, and if he's not even qualified, he wouldn't have the chance to show his interpersonal relationship management. And after he is elected, his work performance will become the key to value whether he's doing a great job or not. And if he fails to do his job well, even his friends couldn't save him, and people will start to lose confidence in him. So, in my opinion, in modern organizations, it's important for leaders to play down the influence of relationships at work because those emotions or relations, they're just so subjective and they're hard to control. And sometimes if you don't like a person, you just don't like him or her, right? Therefore, the priority for a leader is not to make everybody happy, but to make sure everybody knows what they do and is doing it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that the organization can run towards a right direction. Leaders don't have the responsibilities to make every employee happy and vice versa. The emotional labor is mutual. So maybe just doing your job is better and simpler. Take the Steve Jobs, for example.
Steve Jobs.
Yeah, Steve Jobs.
I know him.
Oh, yeah, right.
Not
Everybody knows
personally.
him. The legendary leader who founded Apple, he was demanding and hard to work with. But as long as you only focus on the work instead of his personality, you can also change the world by following him and working
How
with
can
him.
I ignore his own personality? We're not working machines. We're human beings, so we have feelings, If I don't like you, I don't like my boss, then I don't want to work for you.
Well, not everybody likes their boss, right?
That's true.
Yeah. And if you really don't like your boss and you feel painful to work with him, it's your right to walk away from him, right? And if you cannot walk away, then you have to find a way to peacefully coexist with your leaders. Right. So
okay.
the responsibility falls on the person who feels the most painful.
That's why we're seeing so many young people, they're quitting their job. They're leaving these top internet and tech companies because they've been overworking. They are facing immense pressure from these demanding boss or managers, and they're just too much work to do every single day, and they quit.
Leader is not babysitter. And if you want to leave the company, that's your choice. But for leaders like Steve Jobs, they just want to get things done. They just want to make their goal delivered.
Yeah.
And that is why Apple is so successful today. So in this way, great leaders don't necessarily are the people who are the easiest to work with.
Interesting. But I doubt that as an employee, I'd like to work in that high pressure working environment. And this just reminds me of looking at the story from another perspective. That is from the perspective of an employee. You know, in the story, Bao Shuya, he was given the opportunity of promotion as a chancellor, but he rejected it. I think it really showed that his own sense of self-awareness, and he always puts the needs of the state above your personal gains or personal success.
Right.
Especially in today's workplace, when people are given these promotional opportunities, I don't think people are willing to give it up. But Bao Shuya, he inspired me. Sometimes we should make decisions based on our own circumstances and know what kind of position that you are the best fit for.
But to me, like you said, I'm one of those people who are not willing to give it up.
Oh, wow,
Yes.
you're ambitious.
Well, first of all, I think the offer is given by other people, which means other people have already trusted you and have faith in you. So why not give yourself a little more confidence like what other people have already done? And secondly, nobody's perfect in the beginning, right? Many successful leaders are not born to be so. Just because you think you are not competent for the position right now doesn't mean that you will never be qualified for the job in the future. And you simply turn down the offer, you will also shut the door of improvement and the possibility of becoming a better person.
But how does taking the higher position necessarily equals to you being a better person? I mean, everything comes with a price. When you are promoted, of course you'll get a better pay, but you have to invest more time and energy in the work you do, and that will just break the work-life balance.
Well, I think different people may have different interpretations about work-life balance. And to me, though I may have to spend more hours on my job and less time on leisure, I'd also get more resources that could improve my life quality. For example, I may not have the time to go to the dance club to learn how to dance, but I may have more money from my job to find me a dance teacher and teach me at home.
Which you think you'll have time for your dance teacher, but actually you don't.
Yes, I have. It's just
Okay.
it's just the time schedule will be changed.
I guess what's really important here is to recognize what you really want in your life.
Yes.
I think what's interesting about Zhuangzi stories is that they're like chewing gum. The more you chew, the more flavors you discover. And I'm sure this has also sparked some different thoughts among our dear listeners out there. And we definitely want to hear what you guys make of it. So that's it for today's Sage and Youth Debating Zhuangzi's Tao. This is Xingyu,
This is Yang Yang.
and we'll see you next time. Bye
Bye.
bye.
That was Xingyu and Yang Yang on their reflections of the story of Guanzhong recommends a chancellor. What is your take on this? Is greatness measured by ability or moral perfection? Should leadership require tolerance of flaws or relentless pursuit of ideal criteria? Let us know in the comments. And that brings us to the end of today's roundtable. We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's topics. Leave us a comment wherever you listen to your podcast or send us an email to roundtablepodcast@qq.com. Deep dives and nuanced views. We are clearing the table for today, but may the ideas stay with you. I'm Yang Honglin. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.